Quite a while ago in the Using Ubiquity series, I did an overview on all the different types of magic that you can find for the games that use the system. And at that time I said I would look at each game specifically in detail. It's been a while. Here's the first one of those in that series. We're going to start with All for One Regime Diabolique. When you make a character that you intend to distinguish through the use of magic, there are some things you need to consider. First of those is that when you build your character, you're going to need to take the magical aptitude talent. This is a significant investment. This might be your character's only talent. So, if that's the case, then putting magic into a specific focus so that it's something that you can use will be important. Otherwise, you may find frustration trying to get into a position where you can use this thing that your character is able to do. Part of that is learning what it really means to use magic in this game. Does it mean trying to cast spells in combat? Does it mean being more devious, more strategic, and setting up opportunities to use magic long before you will need it? Each of these has their own, pluses and minuses, pros and cons that go along with it and tie into who the character is and what your setting's about. But there are some very specific details that you will need to surmount as a character using magic in All for One Regime Diabolique. Now, of course, the primary one is social. Characters using magic openly are going to have to face scorn, fear, bad reputation, and ultimately the Inquisition. That's no joke. If you're playing in tune with the setting, this needs to be one of the controls or limits on magic use. Then, time is a factor, and I'll demonstrate that later in the video when we go through some specific dice rolls for distinct effects. Then, there are a lot of different arts to choose from. Your choice of tradition is going to impact how you describe your magic. Your choice of art is going to exactly define what you can and cannot do. Now, here's what's pretty cool. It works the same way that any of the specialized skills do in Ubiquity. Meaning, once you have access to that group of skills, you can employ the other skills in the set. You gain access to this specialized group of skills in two ways. The first required part, the magical aptitude talent, which allows you to work magic at all. And the second way is grounding in your tradition. And the tradition is a very serious thing. If two magically capable characters were to try to exchange information about how magic works, if they were of differing traditions, it would be like trying to speak an entirely different language on an entirely different subject. The two things do not match. But within the tradition, this is possible. Grimoires may be written which help guide young students toward greater understanding of that tradition, and so on. Any of the magical arts in the list may be attempted, but at an untrained skill penalty. That is a pretty significant penalty in this situation, as we'll see when we get to the dice rolling. Remember that magic works with a difficulty of 2, meaning every roll deducts 2. Pool size, therefore, especially when we're going for extended rolls looking for a large number of successes, will be very significant. It'll be significant in terms of time and be more significant in terms of the risk of critical failure or simply failure. Failure to beat the difficulty will reduce the successes you have already earned and have in hand, bringing you inexorably toward a 0 or less number of successes, which very negatively impacts the caster and the ritual itself. The specific examples I'm going to use in the video for die rolling are tied to the character that I play in our 4GM experiment with All for One Regime Diabolique. Martin is a musketeer, but he is also, or has also been trained in magic since he was a child. But being a musketeer and being a caster of magics, he's a master of neither. It would be possible to be more capable in either of those occupations had he chosen to focus on just one, but he's divided between the two. This has a very strong impact. It's very easy to see on how much time it takes for him to get focused and bring about these effects. Now, his tradition is tied in inextricably with theology. From his point of view, what magic is an invocation of the Holy Spirit. So he's communing with angels and heavenly forces in order to ask for miracles. From his point of view, he's not channeling magical energy and enforcing his will on reality, which a caster from the ceremonial tradition might be working their way toward, although in this period of history there is a different outlook which might be alien to us when we think about magic. But for his specific point of view, he is entreating heavenly powers for miracles. Now, all the game mechanics for Ubiquity still exist. He can still channel magic, but what does that mean? He's inviting the Holy Spirit to come in, and it's burning away sin while it augments his prayers. So there's a lot of ways to color how your magic works, depending on your tradition, depending on which art you're using, and so on and so forth. So the example part of this video is split into two parts. One, just demonstrating the difference between rolling a small pool for a small difficulty versus rolling a slightly larger pool for variable difficulties, and what may happen as a result. What happens if you roll below the difficulty? What happens if you zero out your successes? What happens if you succeed? Like most of my videos, this one has text annotations on the screen, but unlike most of my videos, this one is packed with them. So if you haven't been watching, if you've only been listening, for this coming section, you might want to take a look at the screen to get the full picture of what's being demonstrated.
Okay, so let's do some magic for Martin. Now I have a variety of effects to roll for, and a number of ritual totals to hit. So I need a ritual total of 4 for some effects, 6 for others, and 8 for still others. In an ideal world, right, that should be doable between 3 hours of praying and chanting and concentrating and 4, depending on how things are set up. So for some of these rolls, he'll need 5 dice, which might be 3 and 2. Or it could be 2, 4, 5. I mean, it's fun to play. I'm going to use 3 and 2 just for speed. So this is 5 dice looking to get 4 successes. But the difficulty is 2, meaning I have to subtract 2 from any successes I manage to roll. So here we go. This is the first hour of prayer. And I get 3 successes, 2 and 1. Okay. So that means,
unsurprisingly, or maybe surprisingly, we got an average roll.
3 successes, so one of those I get to keep. If I keep up this pattern, that means to get a ritual total of 4 on these 5 dice is going to take 4 hours of chanting. So that was hour number 1. Hour number 2. This kind of sucks because I only get 1 success, which is 1 less than the difficulty. So now I had 1 success earned. I've just lost it.
Now, what that unfortunate turn of events represents is that the caster has been immersing themselves. They've been concentrating. They have been descending down into the magic, let's say. Now, however you imagine the magic to be taking place, it might be incense and daggers and diagrams on the floor and whatnot, or it could be a continuous chant over and over and over again in some kind of trance-like state. Doesn't matter. At this point, the caster's concentration, their connection to the spell, has been lost. The spell is ruined. But it's not just that. It's not just the spell or ritual is ruined, but also that the caster is stunned. So regardless, they will not be able to continue with the ritual process. Wiping out all of your successes is extremely significant, but things can get worse. Casting magic can also lead to damage, to injury from fatigue or other outcomes of the casting process. If you cast too long, if you go too many hours or too many rounds trying to channel this energy, you will be harmed by this. And if you roll a critical failure, meaning you get no successes whatsoever on your roll, the same thing will happen.
This has an 8 die pool, so let's use 2, 4, 6, 8. Let's do it that way. Let's get these over here. Okay, so 8 dice. Needing to get 8 successes, which should take 4 turns, or 4 rolls, or 4 hours in this case. Okay, I get 1, 2, 3, 4. Minus 2 puts me up 2 for my ritual total. Got 2 in the first hour. In the second hour, I only make the difficulty, getting 2. So I'm still at 2. Third hour, I get 1, 2, 3. So I get 1 more. So now 3 out of the 8 successes I need. 4 out of the 8 successes that I need. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 more. So that's 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Finally do it. Magic is not easy.
Each ritual is defined by 4 characteristics, which are called complications in the rules. How are your desires for this magical effect complicated? Meaning, you need to address range, duration, the number of targets or the area affected by the magic, and then the specific effect itself. And these 4 categories or complications enable you to pretty much on the fly create any kind of effect you can imagine within the boundaries of your tradition, or also within any extra limitations you might choose to put on it by your tradition or your character's view of magic. So range. The greater the range, the more successes you need to roll over the difficulty. Duration, likewise, the longer the duration, the more successes that you need. And duration, if you're casting a spell, if you're doing something instantly, such as in combat or at a ball, the durations will be measured in seconds or minutes. If you're doing a longer ritual where each turn represents each roll represents an hour, then the effects can be significantly longer. Range, duration, area of effect or targets. This deals with affecting an entire area, like casting a spell over all the people attending a ballroom, and you choose the area of the ballroom. You could do it that way. Or individual people, like you're going to cast a sleep spell on only the enemy as a brawl is taking place inside that ballroom. Right? So you can be selective or not, as you choose. Everything that you try comes at a cost. And finally, we have the effect, and this covers a lot of things. If your effect is on a primary attribute, a secondary attribute, a skill, if you're seeking to overpower somebody using wind or telepathy or your mind control, something like that. Or finally, if there's nothing else that fits, how big is the thing that you're affecting? So for example, flight. Flight is not a trait that exists on your sheet. So you're not affecting a primary or secondary characteristic. You're not affecting a skill. You're not creating opposed dice to overcome some trait of theirs. So finally, you're providing the power of flight to something of a specific size. So the bigger it is, the harder it is to summon enough magic to cause that thing. So it's really quite simple once you get it in your mind.
Okay, so let's go through this for real. I have produced a cheat sheet for Ivan, who'll be running the session, and I've broken the week down into different days. So what does Martin do on Sunday and Monday and Wednesday and Thursday? Those 4 nights are set aside for prayer and reflection. Of course, what that turns out into is these magical effects, which he sees as donning the armor of God, blessing and consecrating the righteous tools of God's servant, arming the servant of God, and warding the servant of God. So that's his prayer cycle week going on. So the first day, Sunday, we're going to try to do 3 effects for the start of Ivan's session. We've got defense, we have empathy, we have perception, all looking for boosts. Some of these are going to be easy, some of them not. Some of them allow for magical synergy between 2 of his magical arts, and some of them don't. So we're starting out with defense. This is boosting the secondary characteristic of defense. What I'm looking to do is add a bonus of 4 to the defense score that Martin has, and that will last for 1 week if he's successful. Now, if you could take the average, this would take 3 hours of prayer. It's the only way to get long durations. So he's chanting, praying, concentrating for 3 hours to get this +4 to that trait for 1 week. Let's see if we can do it. He has a pool of 8 dice. So I'm going to do 2, 4, 6, 8 to do that. Hour 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So taking away the 2 difficulty leaves him with 3. So he's got 3 successes. And he needs 6. So I got to get 3 more successes. Hour number 2. Oh, 2 zeros and 2 ones. So he only makes the difficulty and doesn't add anything to the ritual total. So he's still sitting at 3. 2 hours are gone. 3rd hour. 1, 2, 3. Taking away the difficulty leaves him with 1. Added to the 3s at 4. He needs 2 more successes, and now he's going longer than he expected. This is the 4th hour. 0 successes all the way around. Right, rolling no successes. This inflicts 1 non-lethal damage, and it takes away 2 of his 4 successes. At this point, I'm giving up. So we've got 4 hours. This particular prayer is a failure. Will he continue? After a little bit of rest, yes, I will continue. No, I will not continue. This day is done. The Sunday prayer cycle is done, which means he's not going to try and raise his empathy, and he's not going to try to improve his perception. Now, all of this is being couched in game terms right now, but what he's thinking of. He's praying. He's asking for the ability to perceive the good in people. He's asking for the ability to spot Satan's works in and around the people that he has to protect. So he's not saying, please God, could you raise my perception score? But ultimately, that's the game way of looking at it. Okay, after some rest, those non-lethal wounds go away. He's kind of disappointed, kind of deflated. Tuesday rolls around, and he's working on his enchantments. Now, his enchantment ability is not as good, but he does get to synergize with both of the effects that he would like to do. So on Tuesday, he's praying that his sword will strike true and this sort of thing. So he's looking for a damage bonus, a pretty significant damage bonus, but he can do this with 6 successes, and ideally this would take 3 hours, and he has a 7-die pool for this. So 2, 4, 6, 7, or maybe let's do 3, 6, 7 instead. Let's try to mix it up. Okay, looking for 6 successes, trying to do it in 3 hours or less. Well, I get 5 successes on the first roll, so that's 3 toward my 6 in hour 1. That seems shockingly familiar, doesn't it? Hour 2, 3 successes. So now we're at 4 successes. I just need 2 more. What will happen in the third hour? I get 1, 2, 3. I just need 1 more. Going into 4 hours. I get 2 successes, 3 successes. He does it in 4 hours. So his sword has been, from his point of view, blessed, and it will add 3 lethal to its damage, which means this particular sword that he uses will add 5 lethal to his fencing skill when he uses it. So that's pretty significant. So that is a success, and Tuesday ends. Wednesday rolls around, and, sorry, that was Monday. Nothing happens on Tuesday. Wednesday rolls around, and he's looking for a long series of rituals to arm the servant of God. What happens then? He's looking to boost his fencing ability, his initiative, and his move rating. At least combine his ability to manipulate the human form and his ability to affect his ability to move through space. So the transportation and the homomancy schools. So let's start off with fencing. This is a tough one. He needs 8 successes. Theoretically, should be able to do it in 4 hours. 3, 6, 8. Let's try that. Okay, hour 1. 2 successes, gaining nothing toward the ritual total. Hour 2, 6 successes. Well, that's nice. So that's 4 successes. So we're halfway there in hour 2. Hour number 3, 2, 4, 6. Adding 4 more. And by Jove, we did it. And we did it in 3 hours. So fencing has been boosted by 6 for 1 week. All of the durations on these will be 1 week. So we've successfully managed to, in this week-long cycle, boost the damage on his blade and raise his fencing score. Okay, doing it in 3 hours. He's still fit and hale and hearty. He's got a free hour, actually, that he wasn't expecting to have, so he'll move on into the next prayer, the prayer to strike swiftly and be able to act with the guidance of the Holy Spirit. So he's looking to raise his initiative score, needing 6 successes, expecting 3 hours. Same pool. First round, 4 successes, so 2 of the needed 6 are done in the first hour. Second hour, 3, 4. So 2 of the needed 6 done in the second hour. This is moving along nicely. And only 2 in the third hour. No loss, no damage. And 3 in the fourth hour. So that's 1 more. And so and 3 more, and so he does it in 5 hours. So he's still not behind because he'd gained an hour before. So initiative has been raised by 4 for a week. So he'll continue on trying to do move, raising his ability to move unpredictably and quickly. Again, needing 6 successes. This is an identical roll. So hour 1 of prayer. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 2 successes of the needed 6. Second hour of prayer. Getting only 2, so no benefit. Third hour of prayer, getting 6, so 4 added to it in the 4th hour. And I've lost count of how many successes that he had. He had 2. Plus 4 is 6, so he succeeds. And that's the end of that day. So, with 3 prayers, with rest in between, he manages to significantly affect his combat statistics, improving fencing by 6, initiative by 4, and move by 4. Okay, that was Wednesday. Thursday rolls around, warding the servant of God. Here is where he's looking to enchant his not his main gauche because he's left-handed, his main droit, his right-hand weapon. Now, when you're using a rapier and dagger combination, you get +1 to your defense as a condition of that situation. So he's looking to boost that even further. He's looking to gain opposed dice, which will add to his defense score. And he's actually looking for a significant number. He's looking to add 8 to his defense score through the vehicle of this dagger, enchanting the dagger to be able to do this, which means he's going to be hearing the whispers of angels, and it's going to be moving by itself. It's inherently a magical item. So this will also last for 1 week. Can he do it? He needs 8 successes with a pool of 8. I'm going to stick with these dice. Okay. Here we go. Hour 1. Not a great start, only making the difficulty. Hour 2. 2, 4, 5. So 3 successes. Hour 3. 2, 3, 4. 2 more successes. For 5 successes, I need 3 more successes. Hour 4. Only making the difficulty. Hour 5. This is the last hour you can possibly do this. 3 successes. I mean, only 1 success, so he fails in that. And so, that is our magical roundup for this week in Martin's life. And what will make this particularly interesting is that Ivan will start our week on a particular day. And so we will know when these things need to be replenished or not. And that will add in some urgency to the passage of time.
And that's it. This ends the video on our specific zoomed in focus on a particular aspect of magic in All for One. I hope that seeing this set of examples in context answers any questions you might have, but if questions remain, please feel free to ask in the comments below. Thanks for watching.